The biting wind howled through Oakhaven Hollow, a forgotten hamlet swallowed by the ancient forests of the Blackwood Ridge. Caleb shivered, not just from the cold November air, but from the gnawing emptiness in his belly. His home, a sagging timber shack, offered little warmth, and his parents, frail and worn by years of hardship, offered even less hope. School offered only the taunts of the wealthier children, their cruel laughter echoing in his ears long after the bell. Today, they'd pushed him into the muddy ditch by the old bridge, his meager lunch ruined. Despair, a heavy cloak, settled around him. He wandered aimlessly, his feet carrying him towards the whispering fen, a stretch of stagnant water shrouded in perpetual mist, where the skeletal remains of an ancient mill clouded the gray sky. It was a place of local superstition, whispered to be cursed, where the veil between worlds thinned. As he stumbled through the overgrown nettles near the crumbling foundation of the mill, his foot struck something hard. He knelt, scraping away the damp earth. What he unearthed was no ordinary stone. It was an irregular shard of obsidian, not dull, but unnaturally smooth and polished, absorbing the meager light of the dying day. It pulsed faintly, a low, almost imperceptible hum emanating from its depths. A strange coldness radiated from it, a chill that seemed to seep not into his fingers, but into his very bones. As he held it, a thought, barely formed, drifted through his mind. If only my life weren't so miserable. The next morning, the silence was what struck him first. The usual creaks and groans of the old shack were absent. He found his parents in their bed, still and pale, their faces composed in an unnerving serenity. No marks, no struggle, just gone. A note from the local physician, pushed under the door, spoke of a sudden, inexplicable fever of the blood, a plague that seemed to have claimed them both in the night. Their meager savings, however, had inexplicably swelled, enough to cover their burial and leave a surprising sum besides. A strange comfort had indeed settled over his life, but at an unthinkable price. The gloom stone, he noticed, lay on his bedside table, darker, its subtle hum now a faint thrum against his consciousness. A creeping dread began to intertwine with his grief. He buried his parents, alone, the cold weight of the obsidian shard in his pocket a constant reminder. The bullies, emboldened by his perceived weakness, cornered him again by the school gates. Their jeers were sharper, their shows harder. Rage, a hot, venomous coil, tightened in his gut. I wish they would all just disappear. The thought was fleeting, desperate. That night, a series of chilling screams tore through the quiet of Oakhaven Hollow. By morning, 3 families were gone. The children who had tormented Caleb, and their parents, vanished without a trace, leaving only overturned furniture and a lingering scent of ozone and something akin to scorched earth. Panic gripped the small community. Caleb felt the gloom stone in his pocket grow warm, almost alive, its drumming more pronounced, like a hungry heart. He understood then. The stone was not a bringer of comfort. It was a devourer. It fed on lies, and he, unwittingly, was its conduit. He tried to cast it away, throwing it into the deepest part of the whispering fen. He returned home, heart pounding, a sliver of hope rekindled. But when he woke, it was there resting on his pillow, cold and heavy. He tried burying it in the churchyard, under the oldest, most weathered gravestone. It reappeared in his coat pocket. He tried to shatter it with a blacksmith's hammer, but the blow merely echoed. The stone remained unmarked, a malevolent eye staring back at him. Despair turned to a twisted sort of resignation. He began to wish for things not out of hope, but out of a perverse curiosity, a test of its horrific power. He wished for immense wealth, for freedom from this wretched place. The next dawn brought not a fortune, but a silence so profound it was deafening. The village was empty. Houses stood open, meals half-eaten on tables. But no one remained. A sickness, swifter and more absolute than anything known, had swept through Oakhaven in the night, leaving only ghosts and the lingering scent of ash. Caleb walked through the hollowed-out streets, the sole living soul amidst a graveyard of homes. The gloomstone hummed in his hand, radiating a sickening warmth, its hunger temporarily sated. He was alone, utterly, terrifyingly alone. He had wished for escape, and the stone had granted it by eradicating everything else. Days blurred into weeks, months. He saw no one, heard no one. A forest pressed in, reclaiming the empty houses. The only constant was the gloomstone, a dark star in his existence, forever bound to him, a parasitic extension of his will. Its influence, subtle at first, had become a constant whisper in his mind, urging, tempting, twisting every fleeting thought into a potential death sentence for an unseen soul. One evening, staring into the reflective surface of the whispering fan, the truth of his damnation crystallized. There was no escape. Not for him, and certainly not from the stone. His gaze fixed on the gloomstone, nestled in his palm, a pulsing, obsidian heart. A final, desperate plea formed in his mind, a wish born of ultimate despair. I wish for death. My own death. And this curse. The gloomstone pulsed violently, vibrating with an immense, surging power. But then, a strange, guttural resonance echoed from its depths, a sound like grinding stone in hungry shadows. He trembled, not with release, but with a horrifying rejection. The stone could not take his life. He was its vessel, its anchor in the living world. The surge of power, instead of turning inward, lashed outwards across the continent, across the world. A tremor ran through the ground beneath him. He didn't know what distant horrors it had wrought, what towns had fallen silent, what lives had been extinguished by his final, desperate thought. But he knew it was immense. Caleb now walks the empty earth, a phantom in human skin, forever bound to the gloomstone. He is immortal, an unending conduit for a malevolent entity that feeds on life, endlessly setting itself through his very existence. Every passing thought, every flicker of emotion, carries the potential for unimaginable destruction. He cannot die, cannot escape, cannot even truly wish for death, for the stone demands only others pay the price. He's the last, living tombstone, bearing the curse that bleeds the world dry, one silent, monstrous wish at a time. The whispers of the whispering fen are his only companions, and the cold, unceasing hum of the gloomstone, a lullaby of eternal dread.